Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome once again to the Meat and Potato Show, Conservative Talk and Awesome Rock. I am your host, Christopher Mader, and proving once again that the Meat and Potato Show is nationwide. Calling all the way from California. This is his third interview here on the Meat and Potato Show, and we plan on having plenty more. Starting in July, I'm going to start interviewing him about every 2 to 3 weeks as we get closer and closer to this year's primaries and elections. And we're going to be working here at the Meat and Potato Show to help my guest and the candidate who is running in California for the presidential nomination of 2016, John Dummett Jr. Thank you so much, John, for calling into the show. Welcome once again.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I'm glad to call back.
Exactly. I absolutely want to thank you. When I thank people for coming on to the show, it's not just being polite and just being radio friendly and audience friendly. John, I want to thank you because you've allowed me to work on part of your admin pages to admin on Facebook and help with your campaign and try to give you a Massachusetts voice. And this is one of the things I've years ago, I used to not endorse candidates because I was on a radio station and I couldn't do that. This is my own show now, and so I'm able to do that. And one of the things I wanted to do is make a difference, sign on to a campaign. I looked at your platforms. I looked at what you had been talking about, everything that you had written, and I decided that this is the time for the Meat and Potato Show to actually put the rubber to the road and actually stand behind somebody. And that's why I want to thank you, sir, so much for giving me that opportunity to do that.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to represent people, common folks out there that are just sick to death of what's going on in this country. And at least it shows that there's people out there with initiative to get out.
Yeah, it's amazing that this election seems to just be following the same type of election that's been going on all the time.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is exactly the same thing. Matter of fact, I was just thinking the other day, it's unbelievable when they're going back to the people. Not to disparage anybody, they have their own opinions, but there are some groups out there that I guess want to something for. It's just crazy when you read some of the things that people are going through, and you just see party people that are supposed to be out there. But yeah, what they do is they back to
like
true failures.
You're breaking up, sir. You're breaking up in there. You're breaking up in there. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How is it?
Yeah, it's good now. It's good now. Yeah, we're having trouble. It's always weird talking with you. This is 3 times that we've done this, and it's 3 times we've always had telephone problems. We gotta work this out. But talk about the Tea Party. Look at what happened to Eric Cantor. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that things can start to change. And I was wondering if the Tea Party was waiting for one of these national successes to happen to put some impetus back behind the Tea Party.
Right. I wish I could do something to let them know that. I think what they did is squander their opportunity to really make an impact in American politics if they would have not allowed the Republican Party to co-opt them. And that's exactly really what's happened. Now, I'm a Republican, so I think I can sit here and talk a little bit of, at least experience as being a Republican and being a little bit critical of my own party, I think. And I guess if I was to be a member of the so-called status quo, there was a really member of the party that have went against it really by being a constitutionalist. I mean, that's the first thing I would do. I would attempt to go ahead and get the folks out there that are large group that represent the voters and try to get them on my side. And they've managed to do that. However, how the Tea Party would have just turned it around, they could have got just about everything that they wanted out of the Republican Party because they were too afraid of what would have happened with the Democratic Party. Here we are again. We're talking about party politics, and of course, we know what they're up to.
Sure.
They're up to staying in power and all that kind of stuff. So they're not worried about what's happening in the United States. They're just worried about what's happening in their own pocketbook. So that's what we're doing. So I figured that heck with them. I'll stick with doing what I'm doing, but I just can't understand why the Tea Party's allowed to do that. They probably would yell at me by saying that, well, we've got to go with people we know that that we know these people, we know what they're up about. They're for us. They know what we want, and therefore we're sticking with the Republican Party. Well, I think
interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, you would. So you wouldn't have a problem with a bipartisan cabinet? Democrats and Republicans, maybe some.
No, that's right. Look, my cabinet, as a presidential candidate, would be filled of the best qualified people, regardless of well, really, I really don't even want to think about party affiliation too much, to the point where, okay, if they're diametrically opposed to what I stand for, that's constitutional, then I think, of course, they have to be, considered, the problem, and that there's no way that they
Okay.
to do with them. I mean, if there was a litmus test of anything, it would be, okay, what is your attitude towards the United States Constitution? What role does it have in the government of this country? And where is it on the hierarchy of where we are? I mean, I want to know.
Wow, you're breaking up. That's too bad. But,
oh yeah.
But I know what you want to say, because I've been conversing with you for the past couple of months here. Yeah, we have to stick to the core principles of the Constitution. You can't have people going in there who are going to be career politicians and are looking at, well, once this administration is done, I'm going to get a great lobbying job. I mean, we need to return to the core of what our founders had envisioned for public service. Public service, when our founders were drafting the Constitution and building this country, it was supposed to be the pinnacle of your career. It was supposed to be an end-life type of thing. When he was 60 or 70, he served for 4 or 6 years in the Senate, or he was president, or he served in this local county or whatever. It was like a pinnacle of a career. That way, you could actually get the wisest people to actually run our government. And it's no mistake that when they put the age restrictions in the Constitution, you got to think about it back then. People didn't live very long like they do today. So having somebody of 35 years old being the president, that was considered old, and that was considered wise. And you only did it as an end run in your lifelong career. Today, we just have politicians 30, 40 years. It's unbelievable. Uh-oh, something's crawling in the back.
Actually, what it is it's my. You see, I've got a friend that's very perceptive to people talking about other parties, and he's complaining about that. So let me get rid of him really quick. So anyway, yeah, seriously, you're correct. But when the Constitution was when it was first implemented, when people were starting to go, of course, people didn't live long, but yeah, a lot of them did. But the whole idea was that serving in government wasn't supposed to be a lifelong experience. It was something that someone would reluctantly step forward, take up the mantle of power, do what they were supposed to do, and then right off into the sunset, never to be heard of again. I mean, that's the way it was designed and set up. But now what it's become, and we all know it, and if nobody wants to believe me, let's just look at what's happened in recent history. We have a father, a son, and now another son.
Yes.
That's all threatening, to run for president.
Yes.
So if you ask me, that's 3 generations, or at least 2 generations of people, but it's going to encompass at least 3 generations of Americans that have had nothing to do but with one family running this country, and that's a monarchy.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, look at it. So if we go back from the Bush family to the Clintons, okay, so we got George Bush, then we have Clinton, Bill Clinton. Then we have George Bush for a couple times. Then we have, of course, the usurper, which I say he doesn't even count. He's the
he was just thrown in to toss up the salad.
Yeah.
He was just thrown in to toss up the salad a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he's the 44th placeholder, I say, of the presidency, because he really isn't eligible to be. And I mean, it really is a no-brainer. Anybody that took a government class should know that automatically. They know it in their gut. They know it's the truth. But anyway. Then we have Hillary Clinton coming down the road. Of course, she's threatening to run, but I've got sources that tell me that she's not going to be running. She's got problems and medical problems. That
sure.
She's not going to be a problem at all. But
there is a God.
But
there is a God.
I mean, well, I don't wish anything bad on her.
No, neither do I. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah.
We reap what we sow. I've read a couple of Hillary's books. I've studied the Clintons. I have Clinton's White House diary. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I've gone through it. I lived through the Clinton. You lived through the Clinton administration.
Yeah, exactly.
So we all know, there's the karma tends to come back, and I wouldn't wish the ill on somebody else either. But this.
Well, you think about it, you just reminded me something when you said karma. I used to have this bumper sticker. It was a political bumper sticker as far as I was concerned, but it was during the Clinton administration that I had in my car. But it said, "Sorry, my karma ran over your dogma," and it was. I really loved that bumper sticker. I could find it again, but seriously, Hillary Clinton, if she was to run against me, I could blow her out the water by just doing a couple things. I could say Vince Foster, Whitewater. Then I could go on to Janet Reno, Waco, Ruby Ridge, and then and then I could also throw in Benghazi for the cherry on top of the sundae, and we could see why having her. Well, of course, most Democrats really don't even realize it that she was a member. Card carrying member, young Republicans. I think John Birch Society, maybe even. I'm not exactly sure on that one, but she was definitely a rabid Republican at one time. Yeah. Of course, changed, her colors, but that's all political. That's all politics. But we can't deal with her, but we're not going to.
Let's move on. I talked to Hal Shurtleff from the John Birch Society. You mentioned in a joke that Hillary might have been a Bircher at one point in time. I'll have to look that up. That's interesting. That would be interesting to look up, whether it is true or not. But anyway, moving on. The John Birch Society up here in the northeast part, and I talked to Hal Shurtleff yesterday, as a matter of fact. I interviewed him on the Meat and Potato Show. Great guy, nice guy, just an all-around nice guy. He invited me last October to give a talk to his group up in North Reading, Massachusetts. I gave an hour-long talk on green energy and wind power. It was a great time. I've run into Hal several times at various Tea Party meetings. He gave a constitutional class here in Worcester, which I attended. He filmed, I filmed, and then John came on the show Hal came on the show yesterday. But one of the things that he did was he entertained a guy named Dr. Duke Pesta, and they toured 6 cities here in the New England area to talk about Common Core. Now, Common Core, like Obamacare, there's nothing in the Constitution that says anything about the federal government running the local curriculum. There's nothing in the Constitution that even says that we have to get educational department. But yet Common Core is threatening to take over the entire curriculum of our local schools. And I want to hear your opinion on that, and I have something to say in a little bit about how Common Core is going to sexualize our children. And you and I have spoken at length about the problems with CPS. But talk first about Common Core, and then we'll move into that. We'll segue into that second part.
Sure. I mean, you want to know about what I think about Common Core?
Exactly, sir.
I can tell you what I can think about Common Core. I just think it's another form of indoctrination. And what they're doing is they're fooling around with their children's psyches by trying some other method, some other frugal method of supposedly educating our children. I went through a thing called, the new mathematics, stuff like that, where they were teaching us different ways of doing mathematics, and it really wrecked everything that we were going for. And I happened to be listening to a gentleman that was part of studying up the Common Core curriculum, but the Common Core curriculum is sort of lackadaisical. It's sort of like what you're trying to do is, there is a set of standards, but it's left up to the instructor to make things fun and to do these other things. And what they're doing is they're trying to experiment on our children instead of just getting them to do the things that we all know that works, how to teach them how to complete, do a complete sentence, how to, do their does and twos, and all those kind of things, and get them prepared, for their higher education down the road. But right now, they fail so miserably, and of course they blame it on everything, from economics to the children not having their parents at home and all that kind of stuff, instead of where it truly belongs. And that's what the educators fooling around with how we educate our children. And as far as I'm concerned, we don't need to start implementing something like Common Core. But what we should do is get back to just getting into the basics of making sure our children know exactly what to do, and you don't leave kids behind. Now, what I like to do is I like to tell people, and I can tell you how in one certain, it's an anecdote, but I know of this. We got a high school up here that I paid money into taxes to get it going. Brand new high school, beautiful high school. And what happened after about 4 years gone by, they got up and started puffing up their feathers and saying, we haven't had a single dropout out of our school, and our test scores are through the roof. They're just unbelievable. Well, I can tell you exactly why. It's because anytime they ran across a kid that was having any trouble, what they did is they shipped them off down to the hill to these continuation schools.
Really?
They're down the hill from us, and therefore they pass off on to those people, which of course they're going to have an abysmal record, but of course the high school up here has their stellar record, and it's all a lot.
Sure.
And that's what's happening. So the point, and here's the thing: being in such a small community that I am in right now, we don't have classrooms packed with 60 kids or 45 kids or what have you. We have very small kids. It's the educators that are really causing the deal. Now, what I say is a lot of times the educators they really don't want to follow this type of curriculum that people are putting out there, whether it be Common Core or whatever you have right now.
Yeah, you are getting pushed
They
back.
want to teach. They just want to teach, but they're not allowed to teach anymore. I mean, the days of the old, single room, country school, they're over. But then again, if you think about it, some of our most bright, most intelligent people that ever came out of this country happened to come out of those single room schools where they were taught, basic arithmetic and math, English and history, stuff like that. Well, they don't do it anymore.
Exactly.
And I'm afraid right now we're headed right towards disaster. I mean, we're the Titanic headed right to the iceberg.
Exactly.
That's exactly what's happening.
And that's funny that you said that. I said that at the very last paragraph of my last posting on the Lexington Green. That's funny. I used that analogy. We're like the Titanic, and our future being the Titanic. Unfortunately, what happened with the Titanic? Well, they had a very small rudder. They couldn't turn. As much as they threw that wheel off to the port side, they could not do that. They could not steer away from that because the rudder was too small. And that's a scientific, physical thing when they deduced what actually happened with the actual accident, and that's what's happening here in the United States. Now, I want to segue into a particular part of Common Core, and you and I have spoken about CPS and the absurd power that they have. And Matthew Virgin and I have spoken on the show. You've spoken to Matthew. You know all about this. And again, there's parts in my blog about I've written about this. Here's the thing. Here's one of the things in Common Core, and hang on to your hat, sir. and I'm not sure if you know about this. Dr. Duke Bester, when I filmed him in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, he held the best part for last, or in this case, the worst part for last, is that Common Core is going to uber-sexualize our children. 5, 6, 7 years old, taught about oral sex, anal sex, not just the birds and the bees. We're talking about porn style.
Yeah, I know, combinate different lifestyles. Yeah, I'm fully aware of what you're talking about.
Yeah,
now
here comes the question, linking it to CPS. You and I know that CPS steals your children, and one of the things they need as an in is sexual abuse of a child. Now, how do they determine that a child's been sexually abused? The child acts sexualized, says inappropriate things, does inappropriate things. Well, how do they determine that? Well, obviously the child must have been exposed to this type of behavior.
Well, of course, they not only exposed, that they were told certain things.
Here comes the
certain
question.
Things are. Yeah, but the argument of the other side is going to be
is that the school, hang on, sir.
Go ahead.
The school, now with Common Core, it's going to be taught to our children. So who is to stop CPS down the road from coming into virtually every single family and saying, we're taking your child? Well, why? Well, because they're acting sexualized. It's like, what? You teach it in the schools now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's inevitable. I mean, we're headed towards, well, if I didn't know that it was 2014, I would think I was living in 1939. I mean, that's what I really think I was living in. And the type of government that we're implementing right now, I'm expecting the jackbooted thugs, wearing brown shirts, to run through, and instead of, breaking up the windows of the Newton, they're going to be going after the shops of the Christians. And doing the same exact thing, and that's what we're going to end up with. I mean, people can't see it. They don't see it on the horizon. I do. I can see it falling apart right in front of our faces, and I can see how the government is setting everything up. It really doesn't take much of an IQ to do that. I mean, if you probably would have asked anybody that survived the Holocaust, if they're old enough to remember, because most of those poor folks are dying off now. They're in the 90s. They would tell you, we're headed for that type of a dictatorship.
Sure.
To fascism. And where the children will soon be they'll be coming in there, and your kid will come home one day from school, and they'll be accompanied by a sheriff, officer, and they'll be saying, Mommy did this, Daddy did this, and hey, look, I got it. And I'll be honest with everybody out here, and probably 90% of anybody that's listening to me right now, probably that have kids, have probably heard this themselves. You decide you're going to discipline your child for whatever reason. You get it from your child. Well, if you do that, I'm going to tell them at school, and that they're going to come back and they're going to get.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I've got, and I got it enough times. I said, well, if you tell the school, then you better hope to God that when you leave this house, when you come back, you're going to be the first one that I'm going to rub out. Because you don't go in there and tell me how to raise my children, or you tell me how to raise you. And more times than not, what I think of my children is that, look, I'm responsible for raising you the way I see fit of raising you, and I don't want the government raising my son. I mean, we heard Hillary Clinton and the rest of them say it takes a society to raise a child. No, it doesn't. It takes responsible parents to raise your children. Exactly. That's what it takes. Exactly. And that's what I'm all for. But yeah, I understand exactly what they're doing. And they're headed that direction. It's inevitable. And are we going to get rid of it? Nobody's going to get rid of it if they sit on their hind ends and don't do anything to thwart the plans that these evildoers have in mind. And trust me, they do. They got it in their mind to do that. They're going to say their kids from you whether you want it or not. Sure. And it's all because of this indoctrination of a class or the children to the point to where they don't know any different.
You're not the first one. You're not the first one to say to me, to use the term evildoers. I talked to Colonel Reed Reeser in Texas, Mark Callahan in Oregon. They all allude to this, is that we all know You know, it's gone beyond political. It's gone beyond partisanship. It's gone beyond party. I mean, and I, again, if I can toot my horn for a third, fourth time, I did a big expose on this on my blog about the personification of evil. Is that this is something, this is almost straight out of the Bible. This is everything that's been going on.
Sure. Sure, I'm not a Bible thumper, but boy, I'll tell you what, I'm definitely a Christian, and I do read the Bible, and I do read, certain things, and I've been through it backwards, forwards, to both the Old and New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like what I'm seeing. Really, the only thing that I haven't seen come to fruition, and that's the rebuilding of the Temple on the Mount, and that's about the only thing that I haven't seen yet. And then there's those people out there right now that are trying to get that done. So, I get to worry about certain things like that, and I can see where other people might draw the analogies towards. However, I'm the eternal optimist, and I say that, we could do something about it, and it's still not too late. But people have to get off their hind ends and do something about it instead of just sitting around waiting for it to happen. Because that's just, I feel the quickening. I do feel the quickening. I feel the gathering storm. And I'm looking around, and of course, there's people that are getting their dug out their bug out kits and their holes dug in the ground with loading up on ammunition and all that kind of stuff. But we don't really even need to do that. People don't understand that our founding father set it up to where we could take care of things the right way,
exactly,
and not have to go through all this blood and guts and gore and all that kind of stuff, to make sure that our country runs the way it's supposed to run.
Exactly. Now I want to talk to you about campaigns now. Let's switch gears a little bit here. Your campaign, you're running a ground game. And again, I thank you earlier for letting me work on the Massachusetts thing. One of the things I'm thinking about is possibly if we can somehow raise the funds between now and sometime next spring, getting you out here in Massachusetts and speaking in Massachusetts. And I'd be more than happy. I know the Tea Party groups. I've got the connections, and I could set that thing up for you. But what I want to ask you is how's the response going? I know we're still early, and it's a good thing you started this campaign early. This is one of the other reasons why I wanted to be on board with your campaign. This guy's starting it early, so he knows he's got to work the ground roots. So how are things going right now for you?
Yeah, well, actually, that's exactly what I saw. I learned from the last time. I started way too late, and I did pretty well. So I said, well, this time I'm going to really get going fast. And that way I could get more people out there to, recognize who the name is, what's going on, and stuff like that. But now the campaign I can tell you honestly that it's going good. As far as the response that we're getting from the people that are getting back to me. Now, we all know that mathematical equation, for every, one person that contacts you, there's 10 others out there that don't contact you but believe in the same thing that you do, and they're out there going to support you when it comes down, to the actual, cutting bait. And the whole thing is that, things are going good. I have to keep reminding people, I know you like me, I know you love me, I know you think I'm the greatest thing since canned beer, but that's not what's going to cut it. I have to run some sort of traditional campaign only because I have to fight people that have billion-dollar war chests.
Exactly.
Now, do I need that kind of money? No, I don't need that kind of money because at the grassroots effort, we're communicating amongst ourselves. I don't have to pay off anybody any special debt or any special favors or have any special interests that are climbing down back, trying to give me money and stuff like that. Only because they know I'm not going to give anybody any special treatment because I'm for the American people. I'm not for that corporation that's out there, running America.
One of the things. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, well, I was just trying to say is that things, will pick up. They are picking up. The only one little sticking point that we've got right now is setting up the campaign donation site. People want to donate, but PayPal has some of their own regulations and that we have to follow by, and of course we're having a little bit of trouble there. But that's neither here nor there. That's just that internal campaign stuff. We have to work out stuff. But as far as volunteers, people coming on board, people talking about what we're doing and what we're trying to do, I'd say that, I would say I'd have better chance of becoming the next president of the United States. And dare I say, if I got my name on every ballot in the United States, I'll be the legitimate 44th president of the United States of America.
Exactly.
I feel very confident in that. I know I will be. And that's the whole point, is getting my names on those ballots.
One of the things I plan on working on here in Massachusetts is exposing your name, not only through the show, I belong to several Tea Party groups around here in the state of Massachusetts, and I'm constantly pushing your name, constantly talking about you. The people here in Worcester, Massachusetts, I primarily work through the Worcester Tea Party here. They know all about my position on this. One of the things I want to point out is a little while ago, about a year ago, I read a book. I forget the name of the author. It was called Herding Donkeys. It quite literally was about the Howard Dean campaign and the Obama campaign, and how they put the machine together. And there were two different viewpoints, but I'm thinking of possibly employing one of them. One of them was the Howard Dean method of literally grassroots, working the angle, knocking on doors, plowing the streets, getting out there with as many volunteers as possible, just to quite literally talk to individual people. In fact, that is a Republican strategy that is being employed here in Worcester, because in Massachusetts we have a lot of state representative seats that are running unopposed. So a lot of local Tea Party candidates have signed up, and because, like you said, they don't have the money that even the state reps here, they've got the money. These people are literally doing Howard Dean style. They're setting up caucuses. They're setting up door-knocking campaigns. They're attending every meeting, every rally, everything, every school committee meeting. They're getting their name out there. And this is one of the things I think that we could employ here in Massachusetts for your campaign. And the reason why I want to do this is because you and I are 3,000 miles away. You're running your campaign out of California. I would be here in Massachusetts. I would be like that forward operating base where it's like, who's John Dummett? It's like, well, let me tell you about it.
We need a lot of FOBs. I mean, and that's absolutely true.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to get going. And here's the beauty of what you just said. Grassroots effort requires very little money. It takes just people doing what they could do naturally and for free, and that's the talk. And that gets out there. The money that the politicians use, what they're doing is exploiting the major media, the television, the radio, all that kind of stuff, getting their things up. I'm Joe Blow, and I thoroughly, endorse this, whatever statement they have to be given. But getting out there as a hybrid type of situation, and what you're talking about, and also going out to the social networking sites that we're going through right now, both. By combining both of those, there's no way you really could lose if the people would just do what I tell them, and that's to get off their hind ends and, do something instead of, complain about it. Because a lot of people, they complain, they moan, and they bitch, quite frankly, to be vulgar about it. But the point is that when it comes down to actually doing something.
Yes, very important.
That's where it ends.
Yeah.
It ends right there. Yeah. And it's so simple. You're sitting in a grocery store and you have to see, a picture of Michelle and Barack Obama, on the National Enquirer. My grandfather was an alien and he doesn't like Barack Obama and whatever. And if they get out there and they see these things, anything mentioned about Barack Obama, they get start saying, well, hey, now we've got somebody out there that's, better than Barack Obama or better than anybody else that's running out there that plans on doing things the right way. Yeah. And just get the conversations going and start talking and pretty soon. And this is the gospel truth. Just within the last week, I've had 3 people out of the blue in 3 different locations down here in California. Never seen this before in my entire life, never before. One yelled out, hey, Mr. President. That was one person, never seen this person ever in my entire life. But they knew who I was. And then there was a couple others that said, hey, aren't you the guys running for president? And I've never met these people. So they're recognizing me.
Yes.
And so the word is getting out there.
Exactly.
So I can only imagine, now, with the Tea Parties, it's a little bit different. I've had some gal out here saying, well, I'm a member of the Tea Party. Who is this guy? And we don't know who he is. And then, of course, I'll chime in immediately. Well, here's my campaign site. Now you can't say you don't know who I am anymore. And I get out there and start telling the other people you don't know who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's just that simple. If they want change, you've got to change it. It's not going to come out and do it. It's not going to happen for you. And if you want to keep on going the way you're going right now, trust me, we've got maybe 35 years left, and you won't recognize this country.
Yeah, it's already. Now, again, I want to stick to the campaign a little bit here, and I am going to pat myself on the back. August 30th, we've got the candidate symposium coming up, and you are calling in. I promise you'll be on Skype. I was actually, when I was interviewing Hal Shurtleff from the John Birch Society yesterday, I was in that room, and I quite literally had my measuring tape, and I'm measuring who's going to sit where, what's going to happen. You and I, when we met and spoke, when I came up with this idea, I said, well, who are we going to get from somewhere else across the country? Because part of the thing about the Meat and Potato Show is we are nationwide. I'm talking to you from California here, so how much more nationwide can we get? So I was like, who am I going to get? Who am I going to get? I was like, I got to get John on here. And we'll set him up on Skype. I don't care if it's a projection screen or even a whiteboard. I've already got the projector, everything. I've already experimented with Skype. It's like, okay, we're going to get him up, and he can sit in and amongst. It's like you're going to be on a whiteboard, and you're going to sit in between candidates and everything else, and we're going to be, just like you can hear me now, you're going to be able to hear me and answer questions. And I think this exposure, again, getting back to the show that I do and how I've gotten on board with your campaign here in Massachusetts and the things that I want to promote, not only for you, but also, I've got to admit, John, it's going to help me with my show as well, but it's going to get you out there, and there's going to be 3 other internet media outlets that I have right now that I have.
Yeah.
That's not to say that more are going to sign up, because I've already spoken to about 3 other people who might be there. So this is going to be more exposure. And again, like you said, I'm putting this thing together. I'm just asking for donations. I've got a good friend who's letting me use his conference room. And again, this is going to be a big thing for you, and it's going to launch the campaign. And it's going to help the candidates that I have who are going to be sitting there locally, that we're all on the same page. And I want to thank you for being that guy who's going to be calling in and being there. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I mean, if I could, I'd be there. What we've got going on now with ourselves coming up here quite quickly is on the 2nd and 3rd of July, I've got people working on me getting down to San Diego to talk to some Tea Party groups down there, to my old high school, my alma mater. My class is going to be down there with their reunion, and they want me to come down there and speak to them.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got going on there. And then on the 5th and the 6th, we've got Tea Party people from up here in California that is going to be meeting at the state capitol. We've got the permits already to where I'll be giving a speech, a political speech, through them here up in Sacramento. Now, Colonel O'Reilly, and if people aren't aware of who he is the gentleman that I think he's ex-Army, but he came up with the Operation American Spring, which is essentially that the government is going to try some sort of false flag event in order to maintain Barack Obama in office, or at least the status quo with what's going on in our government. And of course, he's the one that supposedly was the little boy that cried wolf first. And then we're going to be out there, I'll be out there in Sacramento talking about it. He won't be there. He'll be in Florida, but we were kind of hoping he was going to be out here, but they've had some health issues with his wife. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that I'll be doing that the 5th and 6th in California at the Sacramento Capitol building.
Excellent.
So we've got those two things coming up right sudden. And then, of course, with what you got going on there, of course, now we'll start ramping things up and start making personal appearances. Because people want to see me. They don't want to hear me. They want to see me.
Sure.
And that's only understandable. Who wants a talking head out there? This disembodied, voice out there, talking politics. And, I know I don't. I want to see who I'm voting for. So, anyway, that sounds like an absolute awesome idea. I'm all for it 100%. I'd love to be there sitting right next to you rather than being on a screen.
Right.
And if that could be arranged, that would be better. But whichever way we do it, that's the way we got to do it. We have to do whatever we got to do. Everybody does in this country if they want it.
Certainly.
If they want their country, they better do something about it because they're trying to take it away from you. They're going to do it.
John,
they're going to do it.
John, thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling into the show. But like I said, starting in July, you and I are going to get things going in for every couple of weeks or so, and to keep bringing you on and it's in anticipation of the August 30th event, a candidate symposium. It's going to be at 18 Grafton Street in Worcester, Mass. 6 p.m. Bring some food, bring some beer. John's going to be calling in on Skype, and he's going to be talking about the problems with our republic and the future of our republic. John Dummett, Jr., calling in from California. Thank you so much for calling into the show, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I hope everybody stays safe out there. And just keep on doing everything you're doing. Everybody's doing things right. Keep it up. Keep the pressure up. Don't give up. Don't give up the shit, right? We have begun to fight, and let's, like damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, Whatever one you want to use. Just, get out there and start defending your post.
Thank you so much, John. I'll talk to you soon, sir.
Take care now. Thank you very much.
Bye. Well, we finally made that up, and we had some problems in the beginning with the phone breaking up, but somehow it cleared up. I guess the satellite caught up. It's calling all the way from California. So, that's where you got to expect some things. Yes, I am going to be working on the John Dummett campaign. I'm going to be forwarding some things here in Massachusetts. This is part of the expansion of the Meat and Potato Show. It's going to be more than just a show that we do here. It's going to become a political movement, and I hope to be part of the change. I don't want to be looking at my grandchildren someday when I'm old and saying that I did nothing. So, Christopher Mader, The Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk, and awesome rock.